Hello again. Welcome to Seawolf's Den's RPGaDay 2018. This being day number 14. I'm doing an alternate question because today's question is about failures and how they turn awesome. I don't have a lot of memorable moments in that vein. I either have failures or I have successes, and for my own sanity, I try to only remember the successes. Failures are just failures, and you shouldn't dwell on them. And anything that turned awesome is probably something minor, and I don't remember them. I can't say that they didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't remember. I'm picking a alternate question of how I prepare for one-shots. I do those a lot, especially recently. I've been doing them for practically 20 years at conventions, and I did a lot of them at the UNC Charlotte Guild, Science Fiction and Gaming Club. My first real one-shots were Call of Cthulhu. Found those easy to run, and I think Call of Cthulhu really gears itself towards one-shots. And those, in terms of preparation, weren't a whole lot. I would skim the adventure and then figure out a direction I wanted to take it and then go with it. Scare the bejesus out of people. And that was really the central goal. If you are able to accomplish that, the overall actual story written down on paper is less of an issue. And that's how I ran them in the beginning. So very little preparation. Nowadays, I do a lot of preparation, mostly because it's more important for me to make sure people have a good time at my conventions and at my table. I want to feel like and look like I've had time to prepare, and it matters to me. Their time they're spending with me matters to me. And I try to convey that to all my GMs as well. It's 4 hours, or maybe 5. Show it that it matters. Make the effort. So in the beginning, I started making nice character sheets and then writing out one-page backgrounds so that they could get deep into the character and get deep into the story. Personal adventure hooks are also handy. Not only the overall adventure hook for the group, but perhaps a little reason why that individual may want something to happen. And then, on occasion, if I feel rather frisky, I might turn one of the characters into a mole, or give them a reason to be a mole or a backstabber. It's a one-shot. Everybody can leave their feelings at the door. Just have fun. That was my focus to begin with. But then I started doing maps. I have some dry erase tiles that I use, and that's usually all you need. But for convention games, I realized I needed to ramp it up, and I got into crafting as a result. So I've recently added a step to my preparation, and that's to craft terrain to enhance the game. Is it necessary? Is it required? No. It's just something I enjoy, and I love the look when people see what's laid out. Now, it's not a narcissistic thing. I'm not looking for kudos. I want to immerse them into the situation. I want them to feel that situation. That's all I care about. I'm not saying my stuff is art. It's the best I could do. And if it looks good to you, then thanks. I appreciate it. I hope it helps you get into the game that much further. And then I think it's very important for especially convention games to play test. You've got to get a good feel for how this adventure is going to flow. Now, there are 3 types of adventures that I have run. Those are self-written, then there's the one-sheets, and there's the fully fleshed out adventure. Depending on where and how you're running these one-shots will tell you what your time constraints. At a game store, you don't have as much of a time constraint, but you do have to leave before closing. But at a convention, traditionally, you have a slot. You have either a 4 or 5 hour slot that you have to get it done. At home, or in a more casual environment, you don't have that limitation. When you're writing them or reading them, keep that time constraint in mind. So if you plan to have the options for random encounters or side adventures, keep that in mind. You may not want to, and I tell people up front at my convention games, convention games tend to feel more railroaded because you've got a specific story to get out, but you also have to convey an illusion in some way or another that they are making a choice. And a lot of adventures, well-written adventures, have the door A, B, or C situation, and door A, B, and C are not required, but at least one of them is. Just do one, and that'll get you down the right path. In my playtests, I keep all that in mind, keep the time I'm playing in mind. When I write them, I keep in mind that usually have 1 or 2 major encounters and maybe a smaller one in the middle. And some of those encounters, maybe one of those encounters can be avoided through role playing. And that's about all you can fit in about a 4-hour slot. Depending on the system and if the combat system's smooth and all that. That's what I would do for convention games, game store events, like the free RPGaDay. I've done those. Those are fun. And most of those adventures, if you can get your hands on them, are great at convention games to run later because they're short and to the point, and if the publisher's smart, they'll publish them with pre-generated characters that you could play and go right at it. The other type of one-shots I've done are mostly improv based. In other words, you completely wing it. Either you have an idea or you have a one sheet. It's very little preparation. You just got to know your system well enough that you can't go book diving, because that's one way to really kind of ruin the moment. One type of one-shot that I really enjoyed in the past, and we've done this multiple times, either at the campus club I was in or at the conventions, is what I call a GM improv contest. You get a list of GMs. One GM writes a paragraph for the GM below him in the list. When writing, they know at least something about the system that they're writing for. When writing, they keep it as fairly generic in terms of characters and stuff like that, so that the GM can fit the characters in. And the GM's creating the characters, but he just doesn't know what adventure he's creating the characters for. And then that day of the contest, they get that paragraph. They haven't seen it, they have no idea. They sit, we give them 15 minutes to figure out the direction they want to take it, any modifications they need to make to the characters they made. They sit down with a group of people and wing it. Players rate them at the end, try to be as objective as possible. The winner is declared. We've done those multiple times. They're fun. The only reason I don't do them all the time is that it does take a lot of work. It does take a ton of work. And now that I've got to thinking about it, I'm thinking about doing it at the next Mace. Thanks, YouTube. Another fun one-shot type game, again, does not require any preparation. The only preparation you need is to know the game system. I know Call of Cthulhu really well, so it was easy for me to run. It's always been easy to run one-shots and unprepared one-shots. But there was a couple of nights after meeting at the guild on campus, we had a group of probably 10 people that wanted to keep gaming. And sometimes we would whip out a board game and play till wee hours in the morning. This time I felt, and this happened 2 or 3 times, I felt a little extra inspired, and so I turned to a friend of mine and said, let's do something special. A double GM, Call of Cthulhu, one shot based on basically a paragraph I have written down. I had been reading a lot of Clive Barker, listening to a lot of Metallica. All that kind of influenced my game at the time. So we split the group up into two groups. He took one half, I took the other. After short discussion between me and the other GM, we ran with it, and it's the parties are all in the same set, all in the same situation, so they'll end up crossing paths. We just have to remain communicative so that we know when they might cross paths. Those were a blast. I would do those again if I could just arrange it, and arranging that as a convention is hard. I've done a double GM in a convention before, but it wasn't improv. It was written out. Crossover between Stargate and Farscape. That was fun. This went from preparation to fun ways to do one-shots. My preparation hasn't changed in a few years. Either write the adventure, get the one sheet, or read through the module, flesh out the characters so that each person in that group has a piece of the story, has their own world, and they can immerse themselves into that character. And then figure out ways to enhance the situation. In my case, I do a lot of terrain. For conventions, I want to make them an event. I want to make them a fun event. For game stores, I do want to make them an event, but I don't want to go overboard. Game store events can be fun, but they don't have to be convention events. And at home, that's where I usually play test everything, so they get to preview everything before they do run them at conventions. One shots are what I do more of now than anything else. I've been doing a lot of campaigns in the past, but with all these conventions I'm involved in the beginning, I just thought, I could just do a one shot here, and then I'll do something different for the next convention. I run the same one shot now between 3 conventions and that turns out to be a lot of fun because you have different endings for each time. Additionally, I've recently run, since I'm not getting as much campaigning as I have, linked one-shots. Now, they don't have to be run by the same players, but you tell them up front, this is linked to a previous one I ran, and they're kind of like organized play in that way. But they're on my own, and I've written some that way. They get, not only do they get that story for that adventure, that one shot, they also get a sense of a grander story arc, which is always fun. So I hope that was insightful, or at least entertaining, or inspiring for that matter. Until next time, seek the wolf in thyself.